South Carolina is a state that is deep and rich in history and a strong community and a tremendous potential.
Tonight's forum is designed to give voters a clear understanding of each candidate's vision for their future of South Carolina. We appreciate the candidates for taking the time to share their viewpoints. And to our audience, both present and those watching live stream, thank you for your commitment to staying engaged. As we begin, we ask that everyone maintain a spirit of respect for the candidates and for one another to ensure a thoughtful and civil discussion. Again, thank you and welcome. Up next, we're going to have Bishop Moultrie. Moultrie will provide a prayer.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day, and we thank you for this gathering and for the opportunity to hear from those who seek to lead our great state. As we've come together for this forum, we ask for your guidance to rest upon each and every candidate and every listener. God, grant this night with clarity in thought, integrity of heart, and wisdom in every word that is spoken. And Father, we thank you that you will help each participant communicate with honesty and humility, and let us be in a space marked by respect, thoughtful dialogue, and a shared commitment for the good of our state. To those who are listening, Father, I pray that you give us discernment and understanding that will allow us to make better decisions with insight and personal conviction. And above all, may this moment reflect a purpose of justice, unity, and the well-being of our community across the great state of South Carolina. We ask all of these blessings in your name. Amen. At this time, we're going to ask Ms. Glover, the President Chapter of the South Carolina Chapter of NAACP, to come at this time.
Greetings. Greetings. On behalf of the NAACP Columbia branch, I greet you. And I greet you with honors to the honored guests, the community members, the candidates for this gathering. Let me be clear, tonight is about the people. It is about everyday Richland County and Columbia, South Carolina residents who deserve to be heard, seen, and respected. We are here with purpose to engage, to listen, and to understand the vision for where this county and state are going. This platform matters because it centers the issues that impact our lives: education, healthcare, economic opportunity, public safety, and justice, and yes, accountability. The people deserve leadership that is present, prepared, and responsive. To our candidates, thank you for stepping up and stepping forward. Service is not position, it is responsibility. Tonight, we are listening for your plans, your priorities, and your commitment to all people. To those in attendance, your presence speaks volumes. An informed community is a powerful community. I encourage you to listen, learn, and share what you have heard, because it needs to leave these walls and go into the community. The Columbia NAACP branch believes that when people know, they show. I am Ovita Glover, your president of the NAACP Columbia SCP branch. Remember, our vote, our voice, our victory. Now we will have Mr. Ashley Melton come forward from the political action.
Good evening. I am Ashley Melton, the Social Justice Chair for the Columbia section of the National Council of Negro Women, and what a great evening it is. The purpose of tonight's Gubernatorial Forum is simple yet powerful. to ensure that every voice in our community has the opportunity to be informed, be engaged, and empowered. At a time when decisions made at the state level directly impact our daily lives, it is critical that we create spaces where voters can hear directly from those seeking to lead and gain clarity on the issues that matter most. This forum is more than just a conversation. It is a commitment to transparency, accountability, and community connection. It is an opportunity to bridge the gap between candidates and constituents, and to strengthen the collective voice of South Carolina. We are especially proud that this event is made possible through collaboration and partnership. We acknowledge the impactful work and shared vision of organizations committed to the social action, advocacy, and community uplift, including the Richland County Alumni Chapter and the Columbia Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the National Council of Negro Women Columbia Section, and the NAACP Columbia Branch. These organizations have long stood at the forefront of advancing equity, civic engagement, and voter education, and tonight reflects that continued legacy. Together, we are creating space where informed citizens can listen intentionally, reflect thoughtfully, and consider the future of our communities with purpose. We encourage you to remain engaged, reflect on what it is that you hear, and continue these important conversations beyond this space. It is our hope that you leave here tonight not only more informed, but more inspired to participate, to engage, and to make your voice heard at the ballot box. Thank you not only for your attendance, but for your presence. And most of all, thank you for being an essential part of this democratic process. Ms. Sheena Thompson of the Columbia SC Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated will now introduce the moderator for this evening, Mrs. Darcy Strickland Rush.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheena Thompson, and it is indeed a pleasure to be here this evening. And I have the esteemed privilege of introducing our moderator for this evening, Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush, and her biography reads as follows. Darcy Strickland Rush is a seasoned communication executive, Emmy Award-winning journalist, and passionate community leader. After more than 27 years of excellence in broadcast journalism, she now serves as the Senior Chief Communications and Strategic Partnerships Officer for Richland School District 2, leading a team that manages strategic communications and outreach for over 28,000 students and more than 4,000 employees. A proud graduate of the University of South Carolina, Darcy has been recognized as a USC Media Law Fellow and named the university's Young Alumni of the Year. She is a Riley Institute Diversity Fellow and a devoted member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, committed to scholarship, community service, sisterhood, and social action. Her professional achievements have earned her multiple Emmy Awards, the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Masters Award, and the prestigious Order of the Palmetto, which is South Carolina's highest civilian honor. Through every chapter of her career, Darcy continues to use her voice and platform to inspire, inform, and advocate for positive change. Everyone, Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush.
Thank you so much. To the candidates, I say good evening, and if you'll give me just 1 second.
Hey, y'all. I missed y'all. How y'all doing? Only Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated could get me to talk about politics again. I just need y'all to know that.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, good evening again to the candidates. Thank you all so much for spending a couple of minutes with us. I'll begin this evening with instructions to the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to provide an opening statement, 90 seconds to respond to questions, and 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Candidates are to communicate only to the moderator. So that means you're not talking to each other, you're just talking to me. The timekeeper will hold up a yellow sign which indicates you have 30 seconds to wrap up your comments. When your time is up, the timekeeper will hold up a red stop card for your comments to end. All candidates running for South Carolina governor were invited to this forum tonight. However, the following candidates present accepted that invitation. They include Representative Jermaine Johnson, Dr. Michael Addison, Mr. Waleed Hakeem, Mr. Gary Vautour, Mr. Billy Webster. So we will begin with the questions and an introduction. We'll begin with you, Representative Johnson.
Got my introduction? All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm State Representative Dr. Deacon Jermaine Johnson. So if we're in the church right now, I want to put my proper title on here, and I'm honored to be here today. I'm also a member of the greatest fraternity this side of heaven, the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and honored to be here so we could talk about the issues of the people of South Carolina. Listen, I've been in the State House for 3 terms now, and I've been the one who's been standing up there fighting on y'all's behalf. A good bit of y'all in here probably got introduced to me from a viral video that went around last year where I was standing up and fighting against the diversity, equity, inclusion ban that they were trying to institute right here in South Carolina. So you know I'm a fighter, you know I'm an individual who will always stand up for you, stand up for our children, stand up for the future. We have lots of issues to address here in this state, and I'm going to be your governor to make sure we make positive change happen for everybody in South Carolina. Thank y'all so much.
Make sure this is on. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Great, thank you. We are at a pivotal moment in the history of this state. We've had aggressive one-party rule since Jim Hodges lost his bid for re-election in 2004. The Republicans' 20-plus years have left 500,000 South Carolinians without health insurance. It's left us with an inadequate education system that only serves the wealthiest zip codes. It's left us with crumbling infrastructure that is only barely adequate for underserved communities. It's left us with urban sprawl that threatens our clean water, our family farms, salt marshes, beaches, oceans, and it has left us with nothing short of an absolute and devastating affordability crisis. Gas prices, grocery prices, health care premiums, insurance premiums, utility costs, child care, and housing costs. Worse, this legislature is threatening to criminalize a woman's right to control her own body, and it will soon come after Jim Clyburn's congressional district, and it will disenfranchise African American voters who live there. There is only one solution to this. We must win this election. You need a Democratic nominee who can beat these Republicans, one who will not settle for second place, and one who will fight to make your voice heard. My name is Billy Webster, and I want to be that voice. I am not a career politician, and I am not beholden to any interest in Columbia. I want this job because I've spent my entire life building the experience and the passion to lead this state. Friends, if we lose this election, we will have 10 more years where our voices will not be heard. I find that completely unacceptable. I'm the only candidate here who can beat the Republicans in November. I do not play for second place. I play to win. The inscription on the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington reads, "The arc of the moral universe bends toward justice." There are some times when we must act together to do the bending. That time is now. We will bend the arc to justice together. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gary Vautour. I'm running for governor as the Workers' Party candidate. Good evening, friends, neighbors, and members of the NAACP. I am honored to sit here before you tonight, not just as a candidate for governor, but as someone who believes deeply that justice is not a slogan. Justice is housing, justice is health care, justice is a decent wage, justice is a school system that does not decide a children's future based on their zip code. Justice is the right to vote without intimidation, the right to organize without retaliation, and the right to live without fear of poverty, racism, or state violence. I'm running as a socialist because I believe South Carolina's working people have been pushed aside far too long. Black workers, poor workers, rural workers, immigrant workers, young people, elders, we have all been told to wait our turn while corporations, landlords, and political insiders take what they want. Well, I say, our turn is now. As governor, I would fight to expand Medicaid, protect voting rights, fully fund public schools, raise wages, defend unions, end racist mass incarceration, and invest in communities that have been neglected for generations, not with empty promises, not with photo opportunities, but with policy, pressure, and people. The struggle for civil rights has always been a struggle for economic rights, too. You can't separate racism from poverty. You can't separate voter suppression from corporate power. You can't separate justice in the courtroom from justice on the job. So tonight, I'm not simply asking you to believe in me. I'm asking you to believe in what we can build together. A South Carolina where every child can thrive, every worker can stand tall, every family can see a doctor, every vote counts, and where every person is treated with dignity. This is the South Carolina we all deserve. And together, that's the South Carolina we can win. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Michael Addison, originally from Hartsville, South Carolina. I'm running to be your governor because of my skill set. I'm a member of the South Carolina GOP. I'm a member of the South Carolina Democratic Party, but I'm representing the United Citizens Party here tonight. The United Citizens Party was started in 1969. It's the only black political party in the country. And so you ask, why is that significant? Well, because we have a stake in this state and this country. But the real issue is, you see, none of our Republican candidates are here because they feel entitled. They feel like this is their seat and we're playing around. We have 3.7 million voters. In recent elections, we've only had between a 4 to 6% participation. So you can't blame them for being arrogant and being bullies. I mean, because I hang out with them, because they lead the state. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's happening. And so my policies are things that get me, like property taxes. Why are we still paying property taxes and I didn't pay my house off 10 years ago? Why I still got to rent it from the county? I mean, it makes no sense, but there's a way we could change that. And then when you have companies like Scout Motors that come here, they get tax incentives and other benefits, and then they move their headquarters to North Carolina. I mean, I'm about accountability because we want good jobs, but we want decent wage-paying jobs where you can have a livable wage. And you can't do that if we keep doing rinse and repeat, putting the same people back in office. What all of you guys got to do, you got to take the initiative to get down to the state capitol. You either become a registered lobbyist, unregistered lobbyist, but you need to participate. We all lobby. My kids lobby me all the time for money, you know? So we all know what lobbying is all about. But I'm saying, I want to be your governor because we have the skill set, and I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman who's been in this community for decades, and we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, everybody. My name is Waleed Hakeem. I am the Green Party candidate for South Carolina governor. I am an 8th generation South Carolinian and a military veteran. My history with South Carolina is long and storied. My yeah, that's enough greats, great-grandfather is buried on the South Carolina State House grounds. My family's been here for a while. Now, my story continues because I believe I have the best and only 100-year plan for South Carolina. It's easy to create a wish list, a set of end goals. We want better health care. We want better roads. But creating an actual detailed plan to achieve those goals is another thing entirely. Now, let me ask you, do you want better roads in South Carolina? Yes. So do I. To do that, we will start buying high-quality road mix that includes plastics and cement to make our roads last 25 to 30 years, not 3 to 5 years. So regular traffic congestion, unnecessary detours, and delays will be a thing of the past. Do you want affordable health care in South Carolina? Yes. Health care should never be a luxury. We will create the nonprofit Carolina Insurance Company, state-owned and managed, no co-pays, no deductibles, and no shareholders, just quality health care without anyone ever going bankrupt from injury or bankruptcy ever again. Do you want high-speed rail in South Carolina? Well, I have a plan, but my time here is limited. So visit my website, waleedhakeem.com, and come by to see me after this so I can give you a card so you can learn how to spell Waleed Hakeem. Thank you very much for your time. You're awesome.
Thank you all again for those opening statements. We are entering the question portion of our program. Each of you will have 90 seconds to answer the question. We'll begin with you, Representative Johnson. What is your vision for the state of South Carolina?
In South Carolina right now, we have the highest percentage of bridges in disrepair in the entire country. Our roads are the worst in the entire country. We're still 43rd in education. It's time for a new South Carolina. It's time for us to stand up to these individuals who want to see status quo stay the same. So my vision for South Carolina is expanding Medicaid on that first day, getting in there. Whatever I have to do, we will expand Medicaid because we have to treat mental health just like health. We have to make sure that we are getting rid of that stigma. We have lots of children who are out here across this state who are killing each other because they don't have the social skills in terms of conflict resolution. We have to allow people to go get the health care and treat that mental health the same so they can get the health care right where they're going. And that means we have to actually invest in our young people. Preventative measures, preventative care, investing in mentorship. And I'm gonna end with saying that it is okay, because I'm in a church right now, and the worst thing that African Americans and black people we have done to ourselves is we've told everybody to just pray it away. I'm gonna tell you right now, it is okay to have Jesus and a therapist, all right? Thank you.
On?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Johnson's exactly right. The first thing any governor of this state needs to do is petition Health and Human Services to expand Medicaid in the state. We have 500,000 uninsured folk. About 25% of those are children. Kids can't start school ready to learn unless they're healthy. Parents can't go to work ready to work and support their families unless they're healthy. The economic impact of 500,000 uninsured people in this state is profound. Human costs and social costs. Education. I've spent my life in the field of education. I was Dick Riley's Chief of Staff, the United States Department of Education in Washington. Education and economic development begin in 4K. We have to start with our youngest kids, and we have to end with technical training, community college training to make sure that the kids in this state have a job at the end of school. Infrastructure, conservation, and development are all three sides of the same issue. They all have to be dealt with together, and only a governor can do that. We have, in 20 years, if we do not stop what we are doing right now today with urban sprawl and unmanaged development, your state that you love, my state that I love, is going to be a parking lot. Infrastructure, economic development, and conservation all have to go hand in hand. And as governor, I will have a complete economic development, infrastructure, conservation plan for the state.
We're all going to tell you that we want to expand Medicaid. That's vitally important to the people of this state. We've known that for a decade since the Obamacare first kicked in. I know it better than a lot of people for a lot of reasons. I have a master's degree in healthcare administration. For a decade, I have been at that state house protesting, asking people, demanding people to expand Medicaid to cover the working poor of South Carolina. But it doesn't just stop with that. We have to fix our healthcare system in this state. We've let rural access to healthcare disappear through huge parts of the state. There are places where people have to drive 2 hours just to get to a hospital to go to urgent care. And that's not right. Medicaid expansion can fix that if it's done right. Medicaid expansion can actually make the state money. We can make it a private option on the state's exchange and let people purchase a Medicaid plan as their health insurance. There's a ton of things that we could do when it comes to health care, but first and foremost is expanding Medicaid. But it's also a lot of other things. Having a minimum wage, allowing unions. These are things that basic human society does to allow other people to step up, unless you're in the South. Then they use that to keep you down there. So we can change that. We're all going to have to work together. Thanks.
My vision for South Carolina, of course, as a physician, I want everyone to be able to get taken care of. It's something to see a person come to a doctor's office and you can't be seen because you don't have the deductible covered or you don't have adequate health care at all. And so oftentimes African-American men stay away until the final hour. And oftentimes they'll come to me thinking I'm Jesus. I'm like, no, dog, I'm just Dr. Addison. You got to get in here early so we can do some prevention. But I mean, I want to do a minimum wage of $10 an hour. I mean, I want to eliminate property taxes, as I've stated before. And I want to reduce or eliminate income taxes. My opponents on the Republican side, as I go to the debates, they're talking about reducing income taxes, but they're really talking about reducing income taxes for corporations. So when you go to the Black's Law Dictionary, a corporation is considered a person. So if a corporation is considered a person, why can't they pay the same taxes that individuals pay? In South Carolina, the income tax on individuals is $4.8 billion collected. And on corporations, it's $1.8 billion. So I'm like, well, if they're going to be persons, let get the full effect of the thing. Don't just get a little piece of it. And also, I want a trade skill. I want every kid to know how to do something when they get out of high school. When I was in high school, they told me I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor, so I became a plumber. I'm a licensed plumber, I'm a licensed electrician, I'm a licensed carpenter. I've been doing this for over 30-something years, and I happen to be side gigging as a doctor. You know, so the thing is, you just can't let it go. You got to have a skill set. And with all the technology and things changing, and the last thing I want to do is adjust the income tax rate for our corporations. Thank you.
Would you repeat the question for me?
Yes, sir. What is your vision for the state of South Carolina?
That's a great question. So I thought about this on my own. What can I give people to visualize as my end goal? Star Trek. My end goal in 100 years is for us to live in a world of Star Trek. And I am creating a 100-year plan on how we can get there. But in order to get there, we all have to understand that we've all been duped because we've been pitted left versus right. Well, it's not left versus right in the political world. It's a top versus the bottom, the haves versus the have-nots. And until we realize that and start working together, we're not going to be able to build generational wealth. And that's what we can accomplish with a 100-year plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Webster, we'll start with you with this second question. What do you see as the two most important issues impacting South Carolina? And if elected, how would you address them?
The first issue, clearly, to me, is the number of folk that are moving to our state and the impact it's had. South Carolina's seen 1 million people move to our state in the last 15 years. We will have 1 million more in the next 10. We are simply not ready. Our roads aren't ready, our water systems aren't ready, our sewer systems aren't ready, our education system is not ready, our infrastructure of every type is not ready unless we figure out how to manage development properly. As I said earlier, our state is going to look like a parking lot in 10 to 15 years. So again, infrastructure, conservation, economic development is number one. The second, we cannot make progress as a state when 10% of the state has no health insurance. The costs are just insurmountable. When you, if we adopt Medicaid expansion in states that have done so, crime rates go down, economic impact goes up. We will add 32,000 jobs. We will see about $3 billion of influx into the healthcare system. Rural hospitals will no longer close. The economic impact of Medicaid expansion is the most profound piece of economic development that we will see in the state. As Dr. Johnson said, it's the responsibility of the governor on the first day to ask Health and Human Services to expand Medicaid in the state, and I think I can convince the legislature to go along with it.
It's a tough one because there's so many issues. I can't say I would fight for living wages and union rights. No one who works full-time should live in poverty. It's pretty simple. Workers of South Carolina are told to be grateful for low wages, while executives and shareholders profit from their labor. And I reject that. Workers deserve power. Workers deserve benefits. Workers deserve safety. And they deserve respect. And that comes with a paycheck that's fair and equitable. My party believes in a living wage of $20 an hour. Period. This is not something that's negotiable. It doesn't have to be phased in. I've heard every argument against it, and I can defeat anybody who thinks that that's going to bankrupt our society or hurt businesses. It's not. We've seen plenty of places in this country that have moved to higher wages, and they prosper. Their people prosper. Because people that make more money, guess what they do? They spend more money. Simple. Another thing that's important to me is I would fight to confront racist mass incarceration and police brutality. I've been a legal observer for the ACLU off and on most of the last decade, standing with people who are protesting, making sure that the police didn't overplay their hand and treat those people different than they should. I used to joke that the ACLU vest is coated with police repellent because every time I'd show up, they'd all behave much better. But we shouldn't even have to be doing that. We got to change things.
My number one issue that I would address immediately is on health care. Like I say, as a physician, it hurts to see people who can't get treatment. And some of the conditions that people have are really preventable, but we just don't get a chance to go get diagnosed. And so we spend millions of dollars. If you get a chance to read my bio on my website, addisonforsc.com, you'll see when COVID was out, me and myself, along with some other doctors in the area of Orangeburg, we just start testing people. We start setting up sites all over the county because people are afraid. We didn't know what was going on. And then a lot of us, especially in the African-American community, because of our comorbidities, we tend to have more health problems than others. So when COVID hit, most of us, our vitamin D levels were so low, you couldn't even read it. And if you don't have vitamin D, you can't build antibodies. If you can't build antibodies, you can't fight off disease and infection. So the bottom line is healthcare is very important, especially for a diagnostic perspective. Secondly, everybody got to have a skill set. You got to be able to make some money. I was taught when I went to church that if you don't work, you'll steal. You know, so you got to have a skill set so you can be able to take care of your family. And it's very important. You know, I deal with real kitchen table issues, you know, as a parent of 9 children, and all my kids work. And they're like, Dad, you set the bar too high. We're not trying to be wealthy. We're not trying to be rich. I'm like, dude, just be rich in God's grace and God's love, and everything else falls into place. But lastly, anybody who has a conviction for a nonviolent drug charge for possession of marijuana, when I become the governor, first thing I'm going to do is pardon every one of them. Pardon every one of them because it's unnecessary. It's preventing them from getting student loans. It's preventing them from getting Pell Grants. It's preventing them from getting a job because of a simple drug charge. Then we're going to decriminalize marijuana, and then we're going to start growing it and selling it, and then people can make money in their own homes and their own farms. I mean, this is for real. I mean, states next to us are doing the same thing. Thank you, guys.
Just 2? I don't think I could limit myself to just 2. South Carolina has a plethora of problems that need addressing. Let me start off. This is not the #1 problem, but police. We need 1 out of every 10 uniforms to be an unarmed social worker. The social worker needs to be the advocate for all the victims, rape victims, domestic violence, theft, assault. Social workers can process the rape kits that police have been stuffing in lockers. Social workers are not the answer to everything, but it's a step in the right direction. Education debt is overwhelming for people in South Carolina. I have a plan for that. If you want to go and get a 4-year degree, after you graduate, you don't have college debt. You stay in South Carolina as a taxpayer. You buy your cars here. You buy your groceries here. You buy your house here, contributing to the economy. Want to get a PhD? Few more years. You want to leave South Carolina? Have a company that you're going to work for, pay off that debt. We don't need to overwhelm our people with college debt, and this can contribute to the economy. And there are so many more things that I want to talk about if I just had some more time. I believe that we need to integrate childcare into the public school system so people aren't going to be overwhelmed with this debt and trying to find reasonable care for their children. My time is up. Thank you.
I know what the top 2 issues are in this state because 2 years ago I did a statewide tour with a bunch of former gang members. You might know who they are, Gangs in Peace. And we went to about 30 different counties around the state to ask the different counties what their top issue was in their county. Every single county said the exact same thing: mental health resources. Every single one said the same thing. Because we have this situation where young people just don't have the ability to do conflict resolution. We have a homicide rate in South Carolina that's higher than California. We have over 600 unsolved murders in the state just since 2020. We have to address this issue. Mental health resource, and I'm the only one who's had the ability to introduce legislation to make sure that the school districts have at least one person who is a mental health provider on staff in every single district in this state. I've introduced legislation to make sure our sheriff's departments have a mental health provider on staff in every single sheriff department in this state. We have to address this crisis that we have here in South Carolina. In addition to that, the #2 that I've heard is always infrastructure. And the fact that we have our roads and bridges, they are as terrible as they are, it is actually driving up your car insurance premiums. And it is not only driving that up, it's creating a hazard for you. The rock hits your windshield, the windshield shatters, then you got to go here and get it paid for, and you got to go deal with all that, then your premium goes up. We have to make sure we are addressing these issues here, and I heard this directly from the people of South Carolina, that these are their 2 #1 issues.
Mr. Vitor, we'll start with you with this question. What separates you from your opponents and makes you the best qualified candidate for the governor's office?
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I used to be a Democrat. Where I lived before, Democratic Party was very different. And then I moved to the South about 15 years ago and found out it's not quite the same thing. I'm a socialist. I believe in people over politics. all right? I can't state enough how important that is to me personally. And I think it does distinguish some of us from the other candidates. I'm not a career politician. I'm not worried about winning this race, as odd it is to say that to all of you. I'm interested more in making people talk about the issues that matter to people throughout this entire race all the way up to November. And that's what I'll be doing, speaking out every chance I get about every single thing that matters to the people of South Carolina, period.
Two important issues. My Lieutenant Governor running mate, Dr. Candace Brewer out of Greenville, South Carolina, she's big on firearm education. We have over 700 million guns in the country. We're not going to get rid of guns. I tell you, if you don't have one, you better get you one. Because if you don't have protection, people look at you as being defenseless. You know, you roll up on me, I even got a water gun. You know, we're going to protect ourselves, you know, all the way through. But the thing is, we got to have gun control education, just like we have sex education in high school. We have driver's education. Why can't we have gun control education? I mean, the guns are there. We're not going to get rid of them. But we need to talk about conflict resolution, which is extremely important because in my community, I've watched people get shot. I watch people get stabbed. I'm from the projects. I see it firsthand. And I didn't want my kids to see that, you know, but they can't resist drive-bys and things like that. We got to teach people that the barrel of the gun is not the way to solve something if you disagree with someone. And secondly, with infrastructure, just a heads up. If your car get damaged from a pothole or something in the road, all you do is contact South Carolina, you might want to write this down, contact South Carolina DOT and go get 2 estimates and put in a claim, and they would normally pay for the repair. That's how it's done, FYI, okay? You're gonna get something from this, other than the good food they got back there, you know? But those 2 things are really, really important to me with the conflict resolution, because I see young people, and as I go out and speak to young people, and as I go out to the jails, and I'm seeing guys there and girls there due to circumstance, and they thought that terminating someone's life was the end goal, and I'm like, dude, that's just the beginning. That's the beginning of the end of your life, the beginning of the end of their lives, their family lives. Everything has changed. So this is what we have to work on: conflict resolution and our infrastructure. Go get your claims, get your money. Peace.
Will you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. What separates you from your opponents and makes you the best qualified candidate for the governor's office?
Thank you for that. I almost dropped out, by the way. I had a stroke, and then I had another stroke, so I have difficulty remembering things sometimes, but I believe that I'm still above average, and that's why I'm staying in the race, because I believe I have a lot to offer. Okay. I walk in 2 different worlds. My father is a war refugee. I was born and raised overseas while my father worked for the company. My mother, her family has been here for a while. I have a lot of history in South Carolina. But I also have a 100-year plan, which is something that no one has offered, something that each administration can pass on like a baton to the next generation, the next administration, so we can build on projects and not having to start over and over and over again. This 100-year plan is about transparency, so you can see what projects we have in store, where the money is going, and who it's going to benefit, and if we need to stop this project and cut it before we end up having another nuclear power plant where it just costs and costs and costs. By having a 100-year plan, we can build so much. We can build a fleet of drones that are used to put out firefights. There is so much that we can do with this 100-year plan that I'm creating, and that's why I'm different, because my vision goes beyond my 4 years and my 8 years. It's multi-generational. Every generation must plant the seeds so that tomorrow's generation may enjoy the shade. Thank you.
I'm the only candidate up here with the life experience, the educational experience, and the legislative experience who's up here. I am the candidate who has lost a brother to gun violence. I have been homeless. I did sleep in a locker room at the College of Charleston, but I did get my education. I did get my doctorate. I did become a deacon. I did get elected to become the first black and the youngest to represent my district. I made history. So I understand exactly what it is to be like everybody who was in this room. But I also understand what it's like to be these young people who feel like there's no hope out here, who feel like there's nothing out here for them. But I get to come up and talk to these young people and say, look at me as a shining example. Look at somebody like me who represents you, who knows what it's like to go through what you're going through. But let me show you a different way. Let me show you another way, a positive way. We don't all have to be rappers and athletes. We can do something better. We can grab onto something more. I will be that shining example because I did defy all the statistical odds. I made sure that I got here, and when I got to that State House, I didn't just sit there and be quiet. I stood up. I began fighting. I began making sure that the people of South Carolina had somebody that could represent them. The people who feel like they don't have a voice. The people who feel like there's no tomorrow. Those individuals who deserve somebody who looks like them, who represents them, who's not going to bend the knee and cut his hair off because they said, I'm not electable enough. I'm going to stand up for the people of South Carolina because they need something different, and I am that candidate.
When I was growing up, my mother had a sticker on our refrigerator. It was there my entire life. It said, don't talk, just do. That's the way I was raised, and that's the expectation my parents had of me. I've started 4 successful businesses in 4 different industries, and I've created thousands of jobs in this state and around the world. I had the great good fortune to work for 2 American presidents, Bill Clinton being the Democratic president. I ran the toughest job in the White House, which was logistics for the president, and I was chief of staff for Secretary Riley at the United States Department of Education. I was chairman of the board of the largest hospital system in this state, chairman of the board of the largest conservation organization in this state, and chairman of the board of a prestigious women's college. I know how to fix the issues that face this state: education, healthcare, conservation, affordability. These are all vineyards I have worked my life in. I think I am qualified by experience, and I have the passion to deal with the issues that confront us. Most of these issues aren't Democratic issues or Republican issues. They're our issues as South Carolina. It doesn't matter what we say, it matters what we do. I'm prepared to solve these problems.
Dr. Addison.
Yes.
Campaign promises often change when met with the reality of governance. If elected, how do you foresee fulfilling these promises?
I just do like Donald Trump, just write executive orders. But no, seriously, you got to get out and talk to people, because governing and campaigning are 2 different things. But I will be writing some executive orders, I promise you that. And I will be reversing some that Governor Mike Masters has issued, like taking away the set-aside for minority and women businesses. See, nobody read the fine print. You know, they were like, do away with DEI. I'm like, dude, you are DEI. You know, like, come on. I mean, it wouldn't be there if it wasn't needed. For so many years, you've held people back. For so many years, you've suppressed them and kept them at bay to keep them from growing. And when they did grow, you burn all this stuff down. You know, so now when they get a little progress, you get mad and want to take that away too. You know, so executive orders would be very important to me in governing, but also reaching out and encouraging more and more and more of you. Every church should have a lobbyist. Every church. You go to my website, I wrote a book called The Key to the Chamber. If you're not in the room, you're outside of the room. And you can't get nothing done being outside of the room. You got to be in there where you can talk to our senators, talk to our legislators, where they can see you on a regular basis. How many lobbyists in here tonight? 2. Out of 200-something people, 2 lobbyists. Are you serious? How do you expect to get anything done if you're not in the room? And I get passionate about it because we're always talking about donate to this, picket this, put a sign up here, call and march there. Nah, man, just get your butt in the room. Get in there and make the decision. We all are lobbyists in our own way. It costs $110 to become a lobbyist. Don't read my book. I'm telling you. We laid it out to become a lobbyist in South Carolina and a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. This is where we all need to be. And that's how we're going to make change. Thank you.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. Campaign promises often change when met with the reality of governance. If elected, how do you foresee fulfilling these promises?
Well, I'm Green Party, so it's going to be an uphill struggle for me more than anyone else, because I will not have any allies in the State House. So I'm going to have to go back to what I said earlier. It's not about left versus right. It's about the top versus the bottom, the haves versus the have-nots. I've been a community organizer. I've been a protester for over 30 years. So the way that I would get people what they need is to get them to put pressure on their elected officials. Because as a member of the Green Party, we're often by ourselves. But you can see what our goals are. Our goals are to save the planet, to save people. We don't have backroom deals. We don't have an agenda to enrich ourselves. We're here to serve. I served in the Marine Corps. I served on the Community Relations Council. I was appointed by Columbia City Council. I served as the Vice President for Carolina Peace. My life is about service. And when people need good leadership, they've been coming up short. So that is why I'm running as a Green, because I've ran as a Libertarian, I've ran as a Democrat, I've ran as an independent, and I was not satisfied with the leadership in any of those parties. Thank you.
He who knows the rules has the power. And because I've spent 3 terms in the State House, I know the rules. It's time out for individuals who want to have on-the-job training. It's time for somebody who can hit the ground running on day one. On day one, I have those relationships. On day one, I have that know-how. On day one, I know those rules to be able to start getting things done. I actually received an award from the University of Delaware from my bipartisanship for being able to work across the aisle and work with everybody. That is what I do. That is who I am. I don't play politics with people's lives. I just get stuff done. And that's what I would do as your governor. I would get stuff done.
Governing is about listening. It's about meeting people where they are, having respect for their opinion, beings, regardless of where they're from or regardless of what they believe. Governing is about civility. Governing is about the art of meeting people where they are and caring about what they think. You can't be successful in business without those qualities. I had the great good fortune to watch Dick Riley and Bill Clinton walk into rooms where nobody was prepared to listen to them or like them. They knew how to listen, and they knew how to bring people into the conversation in a way that made everybody respectful of each other. It's about empathy and listening, but it's also about doing. We have driven each other into the darkest corners of politics. Our iPhones drive us further through their algorithms. We have forgotten how to talk to each other, how to respect each other, and those are the predicates for getting something done. Scripture teaches us to love our neighbors and treat each other as we want to be treated. That's how you govern.
The governor's office is a unique position. If I was fortunate enough to have enough votes to actually capture that title, I'm pretty sure I know how many limitations there are on that title. There's very little the governor can do without support of the House, the Senate, and the people. There's a few things. Can expand Medicaid. We all agree we'd expand Medicaid. We can do other things beyond that to improve health care. I know one thing that's on my heart and has been for for a long time is the governor can rescind execution orders. We don't have to be a state with a firing squad. This is absurd. You can, as governor, you can take every single one of those death sentences and they're done. No, they're just going to spend their life in jail now. We're going to stop that dialogue. It diminishes human life when we treat it as casual as this governor has. He's made it almost like his badge of honor to see how many people he could kill during this term. And that's what it is. It's murder. State-sanctioned executions are murder. All right? Not expanding Medicaid is murder. Unfortunately, you can't do anything to a governor because politicians are protected against lawsuits. Most people don't realize that either. But as governor, you can set an agenda. You can fight for the things that matter, like you are an activist, which is what I am. So.
Mr. Hakeem, how will you ensure that the state's resources are being used efficiently and responsibly?
Goes back to my 100-year plan. By having the 100-year plan, you're going to present to the people all the projects, everything that we're spending our money on. I believe that a lot of the money that's collected from us taxpayers is being misallocated. Some of it is disappearing, and we have no way to find out where it's going. Oh, sure, we can audit it, but who's doing the auditing? Excuse me. The same people that lost the money. So, whether it's me or one of these lucky gentlemen up here, I encourage you, adopt a 100-year plan. You want everyone to see what you're doing, and then the next administration that takes over can build from what you've started. We need these projects to be multi-generational. We can do that if we work together. We can do that if we can convince our neighbors that might be Trump supporters that it's not about left versus right, it's about the haves versus have-nots. Because I am quite certain that if you talk to your neighbors, you're going to find that you have more in common than not. The things that they need, safe schools, better roads, the things that you need. Talk to your neighbors. Let's build those bridges. Thank you.
For all of our critical departments, I'm going to create advisory councils made up of folks just like you all in this room to create oversight for all these departments, citizens review boards, things that we can invite you to be a part of the process so that you know about the civic process, so you can have civic engagement, so you can report back to individuals like myself to make sure the resources are being used responsibly. Because I think we have shut people out. We have wanted people to not have the knowledge of the government because people want to do things and be able to hide their hands after they've thrown the rock. We need to make sure we invite you in, truly have a people's house, because your tax dollars are paying for these departments. Your tax dollars are paying these individual salaries. But for some reason, when you send an email, you can't get a response. When you call somebody, you can't get a call back. These are issues that we must address in this state. And the only way that I know how to do that is by inviting you into the room with me and giving you a seat at the table to make some of the judgment calls that need to be made for the people of South Carolina.
So in my 100-year plan, yeah, I'm sorry, it's such a good one, I wanted it. So look, fraud, waste, and abuse is a real thing. There's no question about it. You mentioned Scout, that's the best example in the state we have. Scout's now at $1.9 billion. $1.9 billion. $1.9 billion would pay for a lot of stuff in this state. But here's what we need to talk about. The worst idea that you're going to hear in this political campaign from the Republicans is cutting the state income tax. The state income tax is $6 billion of a $15.7 billion budget. If you're worried about health care or education or infrastructure or conservation or anything you care about, you can kiss it goodbye if we get rid of the state income tax. There is no way, right, Dr. Johnson? We cannot do the math if we get rid of the state income tax. So, business partner of mine said something brilliant, and he said it over and over. You can't cut your way to prosperity. You have to invest in your competitive advantages, human capital, and the beautiful state that we love. Those are our advantages. We must invest in them, not cut the funds that protect them. And of course, we'll get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse, because there's plenty of it there that will pay for lots of stuff that we love.
Two things. Transparency. If I was governor from 9 to 5 every single day, there would be a website where you could actually click and see what I'm doing and who I'm talking to and what we're both saying to each other. Period. There shouldn't be backroom deals when you're the highest elected official in the state. Period. Accountability, that's a whole nother issue. But one thing we do need, and I would fight for, is a binding referendum. We don't have that in South Carolina. We don't let voters decide what the laws are. We let them pick people who then go and decide what the laws are. And without that transparency, that gets corrupted. We have non-binding referendums, but the House and the Senate both have to agree to let you actually have a voice, and they don't do that very often. I have gut feeling, that if we had a binding referendum that said, let's legalize marijuana and use the proceeds from that to expand Medicaid, the majority of people in this state would say, hell yeah. If it said a whole bunch of other things that we could put on the ballot and let people make their own minds up. Other states do it. There's absolutely no reason we can't.
The question was, how would you ensure the state's resources are being used efficiently and responsibly? As I say, I'm a member of the GOP and the Democratic Party. I get to go to a lot of meetings. And as I sit in on these meetings and I hear we have South Carolina DOGE, where they plan to cut 70% of all state jobs. They plan to cut 70% of all state jobs through the South Carolina Republican Party. And you wonder, well, how will that affect people, especially when it hits you really hard? And but when decisions are made in this state, it's made by the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, the state treasurer, the governor, and the comptroller general. Now, I read the state budget. I'm kind of boring. I like a good cigar, some bourbon, and I like to read things. So I'm sitting here reading the state budget, and I see we spent over $100 million buying slave plantations. What are we going to do, open them back up? And so, we talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. Why are we spending over $100 million? When we paid $38 million for a slave plantation. And so, until you guys get involved, seriously involved, not just watching what come on WLTX and watch Fox, but you become the newsmaker. You become the commentator down there when the legislatures are deciding things. You get in there and become a lobbyist, paid lobbyist, unpaid lobbyist, registered lobbyist, unregistered lobbyist. You get involved. Get engaged to support your civic organization. Get engaged to support your church, your community. We can sit here and we can go through this all the time, because this is my 4th time running for office, and I'm so excited about the opportunity to be able to run for the position of governor. I know Governor Mike Masters. I think he's a nice guy. I know a lot of the state legislatures, probably all of them, but we just have differences on policies. But you guys can help influence those policies, but you can't be outside of the room. If you're not in the room, you're out of the room. And you're not inside where they're making decisions, then no need to complain when you have an opportunity to be inside, is all I'm saying. So remember, those 5 people make the determination, they vote and decide how our money is being spent. And then we got all these school boards and the counties collecting taxes. I would like to raise the transactional tax for the 5%.
Thank you, Dr. Addison. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Johnson, how do you plan to engage with different neighborhoods and community groups to understand their unique needs?
I've been doing this already for over 10 years. I've been in these different communities. I've been in the bishops, the colonies. I've been in the places where it's the rich folk. I've been in the neighborhoods where it's the poor folk. I've been all over this state talking to people, meeting them exactly where they are. And because of all of my different life experiences, I'm able to relate to everybody, which is why I've been with the Republicans down in Hilton Head talking to them about the issues of the state, which is why I've been all over the state talking to people about their different unique issues. I'm uniquely positioned to work with anybody and everybody around this state. And this is why you can call anybody in the General Assembly and ask them about me, ask them about my character, ask them about my integrity. They will not say anything different. They will say Jermaine wears his heart on his sleeve. He works for the people. He's not about playing politics with people's lives. And he is an individual who will speak to anybody, go anywhere, and do what we have to do. I've been to the meetings where it was all older white men who were Trump supporters and had their flags up, and I've delivered speeches to them as well. I will go anywhere, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem talking to anybody, so that's what I'm going to do as your governor.
I was born and raised here. I've spent 68 years in business, in community service, in every corner of this state. Not just running for a political campaign, but because I love South Carolina. One of the most thrilling things for me to hear is talking to people whose love for this state and love for it and desire for it to be better resonates so deeply with me. Whether it's business, community service, or even this political campaign, there is nothing better than learning the state from the inside out. None of us can be successful as a governing person, whether it's a governor or in the legislature, without going out and meeting people where they live. Everybody has a different view of what needs to be done in South Carolina, and I'm respectful of those views, but it is the love of this state and the desire for us to be better tomorrow than we are today that binds us together.
Like I said before, I'm a socialist. And a lot of people view that as a really dirty word. I've heard it. Get it mixed up with, things like Lenin's communism. And I'm not a communist, I'm a socialist. But I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know what it means to me to be a socialist, why I self-identify that way. It means people over profit. It means housing before landlord greed. It means healthcare before insurance company profits. It means schools before tax breaks. It means workers before billionaires. It means that the people who do the work should have the power, the dignity, and the security that they've earned. That's pretty simple. How do we maintain that, though? Town halls, et cetera, et cetera. Town halls seem to be a thing of the past in this state. I can't remember the last time many elected officials did. Oh, yes, I can. It was Lindsey Graham about a decade ago. I sat in that audience. I wasn't an activist until that night. I went with some friends. Let's see what he has to say. He stood on that stage and he laughed at people that disagreed with him and said, "You can't do anything to me. I'm going to keep this office as long as I want it." Literally, those were his words. I think we need town halls again, where people are held accountable by the people that elect them. Period.
How to engage with different communities. There's a universal law called the law of allowance, where you allow people to be who they are, based on their skill set, knowledge, and understanding, as long as they're not infringing on your rights or on your life. And I go back to the situation with Lieutenant Governor Pamela Everett and the students at South Carolina State. The students felt that she was not culturally sensitive to them, and they didn't have much in common, which could be true. But she felt like, well, I'm a lieutenant governor, and this is a state-funded school, and I should have the right to come to speak to the students. But, you know, that can go either or. But the thing is, we are different. And because we're different, it doesn't mean we're deficient, though. It just means we're different. And so when we engage different communities, it's like a physician. I have to diagnose each patient individually. You come in with a headache, and one guy come in with back pain. The treatments, I mean, the x-rays are going to be different. I'm going to take a picture of your back to see what's going on with your head. And so the thing is, we have to respect and acknowledge the fact that we are different, and it's okay to be different. And it's okay to have a HBCU. I think someone at Winthrop recently said Winthrop is becoming a new HBCU, and they want to change that. So they're having problems there now because they got too many black students. You know, and now we got the lieutenant governor said she's going to get rid of DEI at the schools. And I'm like, are you serious? You know, but what does that mean? You're going to cut Pell Grant? You're going to cut finance for the students? And this is where lobbying comes in. Get in there in front of those legislatures. Get in their faces and make sure they do, like Dr. Johnson has done, stand for the people.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Absolutely. How do you plan to engage with different neighborhoods and community groups to understand their unique needs?
Thank you. We have about 5.5 million people that live in South Carolina. And as much as I would like to engage and to meet and talk to them about all of their needs, mathematically, it's just not possible. So I have something that I want to address. In 1925, with 1.5 million residents in South Carolina, we had 124 representatives in the State House. 2026, with 5.5 million people, we still have 124 people representing everyone in the state at the State House. And that's a problem. People's voices can't get heard. Their concerns are not going up the pipeline to the State House because we don't have the proper representation for them. We need to increase the representation as the population increases so we can hear what people's needs are. Right now, if you want to get an appointment with your senator or representative, it's hard pressed because there are so many people waiting in line ahead of you. We need better representation in South Carolina. We need to at least triple the State House representatives and senators. That, at least, would take us in a step in the right direction. It's part of my 100-year plan. Read about it.
Mr. Webster, what is your approach to handling controversial issues that divide citizens?
Listen. You have to listen. We are, this country and this state has been divided by a man who believes that hatefulness, vindictiveness are the currency of the day. Dealing with controversial issues requires two sides to come together with goodwill and listen to each other. We talk at each other. We have failed to engage on issues that really matter to this state. And what we get is what we have now. 25 years of aggressive one-party rule because they have no interest in talking to us. If we want to change that, we have the power to do it. We register to vote, and we win. When we win, I'm satisfied that everybody up here will approach governing the only way it works. Meet people where they are, listen to them, engage with them, respect them. That's governing, it's not politics.
There's this thing we call consensus. It defies majority rule. It says if you've got a population that's divided over an issue, you have dialogues, you have discussions. We don't do that much anymore. we've become polar extremes on so many issues. No one should have guns, everybody should have guns. No one should have free health care, everybody should have free health care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Somewhere in the middle, we have to figure out ways to actually develop what's called a consensus, where the majority of people agree to disagree, but that they'll support this thing because it's been shown to be good for them. That's hard. Politics doesn't work that way. It can. We need to change how we think about politics, what it means to be on the right versus the left, the pendulum that swings back and forth, all that. Because that ain't working. That's what gave us Trump. That's what brought him back a second time. I didn't see that one coming. It wasn't on my bingo card. I really did not think he could get elected again. However, never underestimate the power of a man who wants to delude people into thinking he's their guy, you know? So, building consensus, bottom line.
As I was stating earlier about a controversial issue with South Carolina State students and the Lieutenant Governor, you know, how did you resolve that? We have to listen, like the brother said. You got to hear each side. You got to hear what people say with a level of respect. You just can't discount them because they may not have as much money as you, but I think they're just as important. You know, so resolving conflict is very important when you listen. That's the bottom line, is opening up the platform so we can hear from others, but seriously listening, not just, you know, window dressing and just opening it up so people can just, you know, placate to it, but no, I'm actually hearing what you got to say. I mean, I want a suggestion box. Let me know what you think. You know, and this is one way I think we can really resolve issues when we disagree, because we're going to always disagree. That's why people would ask me, and they're like, well, dude, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? I said, no, I'm just a citizen. I've been a businessman. You know, I've been living in this country, in this state for 60 years. And I'm like, look, what I've noticed is that we all have differences. I even disagree with my mother. I don't not like her anymore because I disagree with her. And sometimes, well, most of the time, she's usually right because of her wisdom. But because of my understanding, I'm able to listen. And the same thing with husbands and wives. Dating. If you don't listen to each other, that relationship is not going to last. And it's the same thing in the legislature. If we're not listening to our constituents, if the legislators are not listening to each other, then it's not going to work. You know, so I think listening is going to be a very key point. Thank you.
You know what I'm going to ask you.
I already do. What is your approach to handling controversial issues that divide citizens?
Common ground. Too often we overlook trying to find common ground with our neighbors, with our adversaries. We keep on focusing on our differences, and then we keep looking for more differences until we've built this wall of differences and animosity. Tear down the wall, have a conversation, find common ground. Waleed Hakeem, I have nothing in common with him. Well, his mother's United Methodist. He served in the United States Marine Corps. He went to Newberry College, Lexington High School. I bet you could find something common with me as well. So we need to find things that we have in common and build from there. We're not going to agree on everything. We need to stop trying to convince everybody that we are right or that this person is right all the time. Find what we agree on, build from there. We want safe schools for our kids. We want affordable housing, affordable groceries. We can build from that point. We need to stop arguing about the divisive issues and find, again, common ground. It's not about left versus right. It's about top versus bottom, and we have a lot more in common with everyone on the bottom than we do on the top. Find what you have in common with your fellow neighbor, your fellow South Carolinian. Build. Thank you.
I think we need to start by telling the truth and shaming the devil. There is no common ground when it comes to those young kids who were peacefully protesting at South Carolina State, and then somebody called them a woke mob. There is no common ground there. We can find common ground on things like education. We can find common ground on things like infrastructure. We cannot find common ground on disenfranchising people around this state. We cannot find common ground on disrespecting human rights. We cannot find common ground on racism. We cannot find common ground on the things that people need to live here in this state. We can find common ground on other things, but we need to start by telling the truth and shaming the devil. And I will not compromise human rights. I will not compromise the Constitution. I will not compromise my God and my faith. I will not do it. We will stand up, we will stand out, and we will do what we have to do to support the people of this state. Thank you.
Mr. Vitor, how do you handle public criticism?
You take it to heart. You listen. You objectively look at the criticism and say, is this founded in reality, or is this just some person's prejudice speaking out? I've seen both. If it's not a prejudice, you listen to it. You change. You adapt. Trust me, 10 years ago, ain't nobody in this world thought I'd be running for governor. And here I am. Because somebody once told me, well, you know what? If you don't run for office, your voice as an activist isn't as strong. You don't have you're not using the leverage of the platform and the position. I did this before. I ran for governor last term. I got criticized, to say the least. The Democratic Party went to court and took me off the ballot. I'm back. That's a criticism I chose not to listen to.
How do you handle criticism? You don't. I mean, people make up their mind, for the most part, of what they're going to do when they first meet you. If you're in the business of people-pleasing, you're wasting your time, because you cannot please everybody all the time, even your own family. But what you can do, like my grandmother taught us, treat people the way you want to be treated. If you do that, you have no problem, especially if you treat them decently. And so people are going to criticize, and actually sometimes the constructive criticism is really healthy, because you may have to take a second look at your position or your opinion. And hey, you might be wrong. Last time I checked, none of us were perfect. I've been looking around the room, And so since we're not perfect, we do have room for improvement. So sometimes criticism is good, but I wouldn't take it to heart, because I'm not going to let it run my pressure up, and I'm not going to let it stop me from getting my 5 hours of sleep every night. I'm going to hear it, but I'm like, okay, maybe we need to make an adjustment. And like, I go back to the situation. I'm a graduate of South Carolina State, and I stand with those students because I remember when we had our commencement speaker. It was someone who helped carry us out there further in life. And I remember today, I still talk to a dude, And I'm like, man, what an inspiration. And so going to South Carolina State, coming from Hartsville, South Carolina, my first black male teacher was Dr. Leroy Davis at South Carolina State. I never had a black male teacher until I got there. So we listen to criticism and things like that, but we have to keep pressing on.
How do you handle public criticism?
Thank you. It depends on whether or not it is constructive or not. I cannot tell you how many times people have gone onto my Facebook or to my Twitter, yes, it's Twitter, and social media and have said, you're going to bring Sharia law to South Carolina. My mother's United Methodist. My father is Greek Orthodox. His family has been Christians for almost 60 generations, one of the first people 1,800 years ago to become Christians in Palestine. I am a Unitarian Universalist by practice. I'm not trying to bring Sharia law here. So I ignore that. I ignore it because it's ignorant. But people that have constructive criticisms for me, I listen, I have a dialogue, I will talk to them because I am a person, I am one person, and I have one mind. And when people come with ideas, sometimes they're better than mine. So I listen to them, and I build my policies based on people's suggestions if they're good. And I've had some really good suggestions. So I have to give people credit, props, for pushing me in the right direction. So I have to create my own filter. Do I ignore it, or do I engage? And that's been very difficult. It's an uphill struggle, but I give everyone the benefit of the doubt in the beginning. Everyone. Thank you.
Y'all, they publicly criticized Jesus. Who would I think that I am to believe that I'm unworthy of public criticism? Every day since I've joined this race, I've been told that I was too black. I've been told that I was unelectable. I've been told that I can't win this race because I'm not a rich person. I've been told all different types of things. But I ain't worried about that, y'all, because we got a state to save. We have a state to save. We have children's lives to save. We have seniors' lives to save. We have families to restore. We have roads to fix. We have health care to expand. The job that we have to do is too important and too critical for me to worry about somebody calling me some names, because we are going to get up here and we're going to do the job of the people, and I don't care what nobody has to say about me.
I put public criticism and failure in the same breath when I consider it. I've learned more in my life from failing and being criticized than I have from success and people telling me what I want to hear. Being forced to look inside yourself and try to understand where the other person's coming from. Being forced to confront failure, to me, are the lessons in life that mean the most. I spent 3 years training for the 1980 Olympic trials in the marathon. Every day for 3 years, I ran. I did not qualify for the Olympic trials, and in that moment, I learned more about who I was than probably any of the other moments of success in my life. Same's true with criticism. I don't ignore even the harshest criticism if I think it's misdirected. There is something inside of us that needs to hear what other people have to say. It creates in us humility, thankfulness, and I think a sense of self that is whole. We are all worthy of criticism. It's how we grow.
Dr. Addison. Historically, South Carolina has lagged behind when it comes to equitable health care, education, and wages. Why do you believe South Carolina remains a red state when current elected officials often vote against the well-being of their residents?
We stay a red state based on the number of votes. It's really simple. I'm a numbers guy. The person with the most votes win. We have enough people in this state, so there's really a purple state, but you got a 10% and less participation. So you have the Republicans in office with a super majority. So they get angry with each other. So the thing is, what are you gonna do? Just sit on the sideline or get involved? When I was younger, I used to sit on the sideline and watch, and Congressman Clyburn told me to get my so-and-so in the game. So I ran against him. Like, boy, I didn't tell you to do that now, you know. But I wanted to learn from the best. But what I did learn was that you have to get in the game. You have to get involved. And if you're not involved, nothing's gonna change. Nothing. We can have all the speeches, we can have all the hopefulness, we can say all the prayers. But prayers without work ain't gonna get us nowhere. We have to get engaged, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. Being around people who don't want you there. Sometimes I'm in rooms where I'm the only guy that looked like me, that got this nice hair, you know? And so I'm like, I understand, but I know what God has for me to do. I have my purpose. And when your purpose is God-driven, man, can't nothing stop you. You can't touch this because I understand it. And when you understand it and you know it, you can move it forward. So we just got to get involved and make the changes that we want.
Historically, South Carolina has lagged behind when it comes to equitable health care, education, and wages. Why do you believe South Carolina remains a red state when current elected officials often vote against the well-being of their residents?
Corporate propaganda. The corporations have convinced people that they're all just poor future millionaires. Just play the game, work real hard, and you can become one of us. It's propaganda. Most of us, myself included, have fallen for it. We're not going to become millionaires. That shouldn't be our goal. Our goal shouldn't be to become rich. It should be to become content, to have healthy and striving, prosperous families. We should want better education. That's taken away because they want to save money. We should have better health care. Well, that's taken away for the shareholders. We should have better roads. Well, we can't do that because that's going to cost too much money. We've been propagandized into poverty. We need to break that habit. That is why we have been fooled into voting for these divisive issues that have gotten us to where we're at. And I blame the Democrats as much as I blame the Republicans, because it seems like these two parties work together to distract us from what really matters. They're fleecing us. The debates that they have distract us from what really matters. That's why I'm Green Party.
South Carolina is not a red state. South Carolina is a no voting state. When you have 2% of Democrats come out to vote and 4% of Republicans come out to vote, we're going to have a red state. If we just get 5% of Democrats to come out and vote in November, we have a blue state in November. That is our issue. But what have we done as a party to give people something to vote for? We have given the people of South Carolina the same types of candidates over and over and over and over again. When y'all make me the nominee in June, I will be only the second African-American nominee in the history of South Carolina. Why is that? You can't tell me that we have not had multiple African-Americans that have been qualified to be the nominee of the Democratic Party in this state's history. But for some reason, they have convinced us that we are unelectable. For some reason, they have convinced us that it's the Democrats' fault. It's the Democrats' fault why the state looks the way that it is. It's the Democrats' fault. But they have a supermajority in the House. They have a supermajority in the Senate for the first time in 150 years. They have the governor's mansion, agriculture, they have education. You tell me, where is it a Democrat's fault? When you have all that power for 23 years, it is not a single Democrat's fault. You find your nearest Republican and you tell them to fix these issues that you're facing every single day. Thank you.
If we want to raise our voices in favor of health care, better education, infrastructure, there is only one choice. We have to win. It's just that simple. Losing again gives you another decade of no health insurance for 500,000 people. It gives you bad roads. It gives you an inadequate education system. It gives you an affordability crisis that if you think is bad today, just wait. We have to win. It's registering folks to vote. It's getting them out to the polls. And look, I learned this from Reverend Jackson when I worked for Bojangles. I went to Reverend Jackson. We had the lowest percentage of voter registration in the country and the lowest percentage of registered voters who voted. So we wanted to do a voter registration drive, which Reverend Jackson was all about in the 1980s. He told me how to do that at Bojangles. We registered 15,000 people to vote in about 2.5 months, and we made a difference in that election. It ain't enough. We got to register more people to vote. We got to get them out to the polls. And look, We have to win. The last two Democratic governors that won made transformative changes in education and health care. It's all about winning. We must win this election. We have no choice.
There's 3 Ds, is what I call it. The voters of South Carolina, the disenfranchised, the disillusioned, and discarded. These are the people that don't go and vote. They're registered. There's more of them than actually vote. If we could reach them and get them to vote, a third party wouldn't be such a bad idea if it tried to represent them. And that's what I'm doing. I may not have a chance at being governor in November. I get that. But what we're trying to do is we're laying a framework for future generations, for future elections. We're building a movement. I'm not going to pretend that one person, one campaign, one election can solve anything. It really can't. Change has to come from organized people. It comes from churches, unions, neighborhood groups, civil rights organizations, students, elders, parents, workers standing together and refusing to be ignored. So I'm not asking you to support me. I'm asking you to help build a movement. Movement for Medicaid expansion, voting rights, public schools, living wages, racial justice, working class power. Truth is, we don't have to accept the South Carolina that they keep giving us. We can build a South Carolina where no child goes hungry, no worker is treated as cheap labor, no family is bankrupted by illness, no community is abandoned, and no person is denied dignity because of their race, their income, or their zip code. And that's the South Carolina I'm fighting for.
Gentlemen, we have less than 10 minutes left. The next question, answer as quickly as you can, and we'll see how many questions we can get in. If you could not vote for yourself in the primary, which candidate on this stage would you cast your ballot for in June? Mr. Hakeem.
You know, there are a lot of good people up here on this stage today. They've had a lot of good ideas. They've put forth some really good suggestions and some good policies. So I believe that I personally would rather see anyone here on this stage in the governor's mansion over any Republican. I'll say that right now. Anybody. But if you're going to twist my arm, Jermaine Johnson. I've had several conversations with him, and I believe he is a man of integrity. He has some really good ideas, and if you guys mess up and don't vote for me, he's the person that you should vote for, if not me. And I was not paid to say that.
Man, I was still, man, thank you, brother. Listen, if I got to be honest, man, I'm picking whoever's going to have me as the lieutenant governor. Because we got a state to save, y'all. We got a state to save.
Are you close enough to the stage to count? Can we vote for you?
I'm gonna wait 4 more years before I run.
Look, I've only met these folks recently. I've had a chance over the last 3 months to get to know Dr. Johnson a little bit as we've crossed paths on the trail. As I've said I've lived here my whole life. The courage that it takes for an African American to put himself out for governor is something that I admire. And if I weren't in this race, Jermaine, I'd be voting for you.
Who am I voting for in the primary? Because I can't vote for myself. Neither can he, and neither can he. We're third-party candidates. We're not in your vote. We don't get votes in a primary. We get elected by conventions that put us on the ballot. Unless, of course, the Republicans have their way and change the state laws, which they're trying to do, as usual. There's no question to me that it's time for change in this state. It has to be a Democrat. It can't be a Republican, obviously. Nancy Mason, her machine guns can go stuff it. And I could say equally wrong things about all the rest of them, too. But then I'd have to listen to my wife berate me later for saying things that I shouldn't say. If I got to pick, it's going to be Jermaine. And it's not... He's been there, all right? The first time I met him, I was marshaling for Planned Parenthood at an abortion rally back in the battle we had, not to get the 6-week ban that we ended up with. My job as a marshal was to lead a team of 4 or 5 people to stand between the pro and the antis and make sure they don't fight with each other so the state police didn't have to come in and break it up and arrest people. A rough job. I had a good team. I had a rough day. Jermaine, first time I met him, he walked up to me and says, "Hey, Gary, you doing okay?" I'm like, "Who are you?" You know, it's no question in my mind. He's been there. He knows what's going on in there. He's probably the most effective person in the Democratic Party that can make change.
As a third-party candidate, we have the opportunity to vote in the primaries. And I've known these guys for a minute, you know, but of course I've known Jermaine a lot longer, especially coming out of the Hopkins area down there. But the thing is, I would love for him to be my lieutenant governor, but if... you know, but... Of course, if I couldn't get that and I had to vote in the Democratic Party, of course, I believe he has demonstrated over the years that he would do a great job. He knows the road work. He knows his way around, you know, and I will follow that leadership, you know, and support him, not just with my mouth, but with my wallet, too. You know, and it's unfortunate that the Democratic Party is not backing them like they should. That's what's unfortunate, you know, and I stand guard and watch that. Like I call it, they Jasmine Crocketing him. You know, like, well, why he can't be the nominee? Why you got to ask him to drop out? You know? And so, brother, I sit and I see these things, so I'm like, I'm running as a third party because I didn't want to get involved with all that, you know? And I'm on the ballot in November, and we're going to be kicking butt because we believe we have a path to victory, you know, and everybody's ready for change. Like I tell you guys, I'm a member of the GOP, too. So I sit here and listen to white folk, too. And they are telling me, man, they're catching HELL out here. Gas prices affecting everybody. Grocery prices affecting everyone. You know, I mean, losing your 401k, watching it go down the toilet, it affecting all of us. You know, so definitely, I appreciate you, Lieutenant Governor.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll ask each of you to pick up your microphones and we'll go through this very quickly, and then the next thing we'll move into is closing statements. Is everyone ready? Microphones in hand. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Coke.
Coke Zero, diabetic.
Coke.
Water, it's bad for your kidneys. Green Party!
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
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 Vanilla ice cream.
Chocolate.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Both.
Tough one. Mountains.
I like the beach.
We've got both in South Carolina. It's so hard to choose, but I'll take the beach.
Movies or books?
Books.
Books.
Movies now.
Movies.
I used to be an actor, so I've got to support my old industry. Movies.
Eating out or home cooking?
Home cooking.
Bojangles.
Home cooking.
Home cooking.
I love to cook at home.
Football or basketball?
You know basketball. Come on now. Y'all know I play some ball.
I ain't big enough to do either running.
Basketball.
Football.
And I'm autistic. I don't care for sports at all. I'm about, trains and Star Wars and Star Trek, but sports, no. Sorry.
Sleeping in or getting up early?
Ooh, that's tough. What I like to do, baby? Ask my wife up there. I don't know. She said I like to get up early, so I get up early, y'all.
Yeah, I got it. Jade will kill me if I don't say it. I'm up 4:30 every morning, early.
Up early.
Early.
Late.
100-year plan.
He said 100-year plan.
Mail-in ballot, in-person voting.
I like in person.
Me too, love to vote.
Both.
If ICE is going to be at the election, some people may be deterred about coming out. So mail-in may be a big thing this year.
Let me plug in ranked choice voting in person. Ranked choice voting.
Final question, Beyonce or Taylor Swift?
You know what I'm saying, the Queen Bee.
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
I'm still partial to Lauryn Hill, but Beyonce.
Beyonce!
Gentlemen, we'll start with Dr. Johnson with your closing statements. You'll each have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Listen, y'all, I had a fantastic time in here with you all this evening. And thank you all to the candidates for being up here as well. I think this is the first time I've been on the stage with candidates of different, parties, third parties, and things like that. So I'm just honored to share this stage with a bunch of individuals who have shared ideologies with me, who truly want to do the work of the people of South Carolina, who truly want to represent the people of South Carolina, because we all can agree on one thing: change must happen. Change must happen. And I'm committed to working with everybody on this stage to make sure that change comes to fruition in November. They will have my support going through this June primary. We will make sure this change happens. And like Mr. Webster said, we must win. We must win. And we will win by motivating people. We will win by doing voter registration. We will win by GOTV. We will win. It is time to win. But it's time for a new South Carolina. Y'all have seen my hashtag, a new SC. The new South Carolina is on the horizon. A new South Carolina means putting emphasis on our infrastructure, means putting emphasis on mental health and healthcare resources, means restoring a woman's right to choose, means giving people the education that they deserve. It means we are actually going to work together and make South Carolina what it should be. When I am your governor, we will define the success of South Carolina not by how the big businesses are doing, but how its people are doing. God bless y'all.
My opening was a bit of a formal statement, and if you'll permit me, my closing is a little more personal. The journey to the governor's office is long. Jermaine and I talked about this earlier. It's hard, right? It's hard. Every night I pray for guidance, humility, and strength. I'm not a perfect person. Corinthians reminds me that God does not ask for perfection. He asks for faithfulness. I commit to you that I will be faithful to this task. I will work hard. I will listen to the voices that know far more than I do. I will be honest, and I will be civil. And I am in this to win. If we do not love our neighbors and treat others as we wish to be treated, what are we doing here in the first place? It's an honor for me to be here on the stage, to be with these competitors, and to be here at this time in our state's history. I appreciate y'all listening to us, and may God bless you all.
How deep you want me to go? I've been disabled since 2002 on disability, living on $1,400 a month and Medicare as a health insurance. But I've been on Medicaid and food stamps in 3 different states I've lived in, but not in South Carolina. My first wife, she passed in 2008. In 2005, they found out she had a cancer in her neck and a bone. She had a little car accident, and they found it in an x-ray. And short version is 3 years later, she was paralyzed from surgeries. We converted our house into a home care, took care of her, held her hand as she took her last breath. It's a lot. Went back to school, got another degree, healthcare, because she told me to make this mean something. That's what I've been doing. I've spent the last decade and a half helping people. I'm a healthcare advocate. I help people get second opinions, understand how hospitals work, do conflict mediation with their doctors when they don't agree, and I don't charge. It's my joy to do that for people. It's one of the reasons I'm so adamant about Medicaid expansion. When my first wife died, I didn't have any debt. My state had expanded Medicaid under something called Romney Care. Yeah, a Republican did that. That became the basis of what the Affordable Care Act was going to be. We all figured every state's going to expand their Medicaid. And then we got this last 10 that have turned it into a vilification of the poor. They're trying to take your health care away. We can't give them free health care. They don't deserve it. You deserve it. It's wrong. My name will be on your ballot in November. It's about all I can tell you. If you want to choose to vote for me, that's great. If not, vote wisely, because we're going to be stuck with whoever gets elected for another 4 years.
Health care for all. We have enough money in the state to provide health care services for everyone. Minimum wage, we definitely got to increase the minimum wage. You know, the state of South Carolina does not even have a minimum wage. We don't even have a minimum wage. And so, you know, and like I want to get rid of property taxes because to me it's just egregious to have to pay rent after you done paid your house. My house I actually built out of pocket, and then they start sending me a bill. You know, like y'all didn't put one nail in this. But the thing is, if we don't get engaged collectively, if we all don't become lobbyists and make a difference, go to the state legislature Tuesday through Thursday, go participate. I'm Dr. Michael Addison. I will be on the ballot, probably the first name, Michael Addison. And I will be out campaigning in all 46 counties, all 46 counties, as I've started months ago. And what I'm running into as I meet with all 271 mayors is that they're all having the same challenges. Down in McClellanville, they don't have a health care provider. And they asked me to hook them up with someone at MUSC. And so we reach out to Dr. Sullivan so he can connect. And it's all about building relationships. But what I'm saying is that we have to participate in a meaningful way. We can talk all day, we can march, we can have no Kings rallies, we can have all types of rallies, but if we don't participate inside the room, your voice is just being unheard. And what about our children? What about our veterans? You know, we opened up Paradise Point Veteran House. When you get a chance to read my bio on the website, you'll see the things that we're doing. We opened a center for homeless and disabled veterans so we could train them and house them without all the red tape. It's up to us. It's our state. It's my property. I can do what I want to do with it. And so I'm encouraging you guys to do the same thing. God bless you. Thank you guys for inviting us out here tonight. Thank you, other candidates. May God continue to bless you guys on your journey. And you're always welcome. I'm going to have my first picnic at the mansion. You all can come by.
Your closing statement.
Thank you. Okay, well, I was really hoping that Nancy Mace would be here with us today. Here's why. Nancy keeps talking about wanting to protect our children. I was going to challenge her here tonight to adopting one of my policies, and I hope that everyone here will adopt it, and anything else that you hear that I've put forth, 100-year plan, feel free to borrow from it, because it's going to benefit everyone in South Carolina. I was going to say, Nancy Mace, if you really want to protect our children in the age of Jeffrey Epstein, raise the age of consent in South Carolina from 16 to 18. It's about time. Bring it up to 18. And I hope that if anyone here is fortunate enough to win the election, that can be a priority, because Jeffrey Epstein has ties to South Carolina for that reason. 16 is legal in South Carolina, and that is disgusting. So, I want to thank everyone for your time, for coming out here, to listening to us, for our ideas and our attempt to get our thoughts across to you. So the last thing that I want to say is no war with Iran, free Palestine, ICE out of South Carolina. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, your preparation, and your commitment to making South Carolina a better state. 100 years from now, when we all have a trade, affordable health care, access to mental health, and a government of transparency, we can thank you all for the part that you have played tonight in starting that change. To each of you in the audience tonight, I say to you, thank you for understanding why tonight was so important, to take in what you've heard and to share it with someone else. I thank you for the opportunity to be a small part of such a huge movement, because social action is what we do. Please join me now as we welcome the NAACP Columbia Branch Political Action Chair to bring the charge, Tracy Richardson.
So me and the president stand between you and your homes. So Bishop, I can't help but to say, everyone, tell your neighbor we're on time. All right, so the charge is thus. Our charge is clear. Democracy does not end with dialogue. It is strengthened through participation. Each of us has a role to play in shaping the future of our state. Let us leave committed to voting, to encouraging others, and to holding leadership accountable long after tonight. But I do want to keep it real for just a moment. We are living in times where we have no other choice but to vote in June. We have no other choice but to vote in November. Why? Because our lives, our children's lives, our children's 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 lives is depending on us getting out to vote. It is not enough to be registered. We must be in the line voting. Whether it is raining, snowing, sleeting, or shining, we need to be in the line voting. So what I will ask each of you to do is to have this action plan. Not only are you committed to going to the polls in June and November, but you take your entire voting age family to the polls with you, to include Pookie and them. All right? So I'm going to get back to the script. I will now introduce the president of Richland County Alumni of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Ms. LaVale Thornton, as well as the president of Columbia, South Carolina Alumni, Dr. Arlene Prince, as they bring their closings. Thank you.
How do you follow that? I don't know. Thank you so much for that charge. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has been rooted in social action since 1913. Whether voting rights, education, healthcare, or economic improvement, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. We are still fighting the same old battles. A key role is to promote leadership, advocacy, and empowerment to affect social change and an important public policy impacting our communities. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the organizations and individuals whose dedication and collaboration made this forum possible. Special thanks to the Columbia SC Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, the NAACP Columbia, South Carolina branch, and the National Council of Negro Women Columbia section. We must remain informed and vigilant. We must do our part, not just with our vote, but our continued commitment to civic engagement and actions toward the greater good. A special note I was asked to share: Mullins McLeod sends his apologies for not being able to join the forum tonight due to an unexpected situation. Just wanted to share that with the audience. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Prince.
Good evening. We would also like to extend a special thanks to Richland County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And we also extend appreciation to those who contributed to supporting this event through honorariums and hospitality and creating an environment where others could feel very welcome this evening. And a heartfelt thank you to the candidates for the dialogue this evening, to the moderator, Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush, the timekeeper, Mr. Najee Simpson, a Benedict College student, the Brook, and Chris Etheridge, owner of the Southern Crave, who will be providing some catering services. In times like these, unity matters, and working together makes all the difference. As you heard earlier, please make your voice heard, get out and vote. And as a reminder, the statewide primary is June 9th, and early voting period is Tuesday, May 26th through Friday, June 5th. We thank you all again for being here and for taking part of this evening's event, and we wish you a very good night and safe travels to your destination. Thank you.
Very nice to meet you.